Hey, what's up guys, Mashine here, come back with a brand new video for you guys. Now, not too long ago, I made a video talking about how you should be preparing for Rio 2022. Today, we're going to be talking about how you can profit from it. Let's hop on into it. Now, first up, I want to say nothing in this video is guaranteed. Obviously, there's going to be some risk along the way if you're trying to profit from any specific thing. And therefore, obviously, you should definitely do your own research and definitely not take what I say at face value. The first option is probably going to be the most obvious, and that's going to be picking up investments to help you along the way. Now, I'm not specifically saying to invest into Rio 2022. There's definitely so many factors that go into it, but investing is going to be the most common way you'll probably end up with profit, whether that's investing into Antwerp, Stockholm, or Rio 2022. There's almost guaranteed to be something out of those three that goes up because of this major. We don't know specifically, and that's obviously where the risk comes in, but this is something I definitely think you should spend the majority of your time on, is figuring out if this is going to be a good investment, what you should do, and so forth. And speaking on that topic, it might not be a bad idea to think about selling some things as well. Obviously, I'm not in a position to tell you what to buy or sell, but we are going to be seeing some brand new teams here, and we're going to be seeing some teams that didn't make it and didn't make the last major but are here now. Obviously, the biggest one for me is Mouse. Mouse is here in Rio, and they obviously had the most profitable sticker from Stockholm 2021. So obviously there's going to be some sort of impact there. Whether that impact is very small or very large, honestly, to me, it doesn't make a difference because I didn't really invest into anything Mouse related, but it's something you might want to understand. Also, we've got no G2 for this major or Astralis, and there's some other drama going on with Astralis right now. I'm not specifically too sure what it is, but it's definitely not very good for the organization as a whole to miss out on the major and have this major drama right after. Both teams have been very dominant and have had a lot of past major performances, and I don't really expect a lot of their old capsules to go up in price too much just because there's so many options for their sticker and they've been to so many, but it's definitely interesting to see. Here we're going to see the return of Sprout in the Legends for Europe, which is to me absolutely crazy. I never would have expected to see Sprout again, and honestly that's an org that I haven't seen in a long time. Kind of like 9Z with the past major, it came out of nowhere, at least in my opinion. Other than that, there's so many different things we could go over with all of these teams. We've got some brand new teams coming from the Americas and Europe in the contenders area, and then we've also got just one Legends team from America being Liquid, which is a little bit disappointing for NACS, but that's obviously besides the point here. So many great teams returning, and honestly, I'm personally very glad that we're not seeing G2 or Astralis. I threw up a poll, I got everyone's opinions. Personally, I'm very glad. I love seeing new teams in the majors. It's what keeps the game fresh, and the biggest piece of CSGO history that I didn't enjoy is when Astralis was just dominating for a couple straight majors. It's just not very fun. Now, I don't want to get too deep into major specific items. Obviously, we don't know what's going to be coming with this major. The only one I want to comment on is the patch pack from Stockholm. Obviously, the patch pack from Stockholm was not a very popular item, but the fact that we did not see a reoccurrence of it in Antwerp led it to be very profitable, and therefore that is the possibility we could see it again once here for Rio. Now, honestly, I'm not going to make any speculations about this because it's pretty much futile. There's no reason to do it, but I think it's definitely going to be interesting to see if it returns or not, because we saw these things go very expensive in price after sitting at around 50 cents for a while during the actual major ongoing. So it's definitely interesting, but something that I would definitely make sure you're there right when the update drops if you're an investor into these. If we see them return for Rio 2022, I would expect the price of the Stockholm ones to probably go down. Obviously, that's just my opinion, but I think that's pretty common sense at this point. Now, when the stickers release, there's definitely the possibility we could see some prices drop down. I do find this highly unlikely that this would stay for more than a day, or even possibly in general. There's not the guarantee that we could see prices drop down, but it is something that is potentially a possibility. So I think there's definitely a reason to be prepared for it and be on the lookout for it. Something like the glove case here, which has actually been recently increasing But besides the point, looking back at Antwerp, you can see it was quite consistent throughout the entirety. The quantity picked up a little bit, or the quantity sold picked up a little bit, so there's definitely a lot more activity around it, but we could see that the prices really didn't decrease at all and actually stayed rather consistent with the overall trend we were seeing for the glove case at the time. This means that the possibility was definitely there, and when we look at an item that was a little less liquid, you could definitely see there was potentially a little bit of a drop down, but honestly, it's not something that's super large, and it's not something that I really expect to see at a grand scale. It's just if you're there and the possibility shows up where you could get something for a couple cents cheaper, it might be worth it to do so, especially if you believe there's not going to be a CSGO operation or another big update this year. It's definitely a potential and on the table. And speaking of cases that drop down a little bit, active duty cases might be a decent time for you to get into them if you're really looking to invest. You can see here with the clutch case during Antwerp, it dropped down a very small amount, but the thing is, if you're looking for a time to buy in, I guess it could be an okay time to do so. The amount of quantity sold on the market was up roughly 30% that day, and there's definitely the possibility that we could see something a little bit more extreme here with Rio 2022. Not something I specifically suggest, but it's definitely a possibility, and that's the whole thing, is obviously everything right now, we don't know specifically what's going to happen, but I want to give you as many opportunities as possible to potentially get a little bit of extra profit without having to invest a significant amount of time scrambling right as the time comes around. Obviously, when the major update comes out, there's going to be the possibility we could see absolutely nothing at all, but there's also the possibility we could see a couple unique items drop down maybe 5-10% in price that you were looking to buy, and you never would buy them if you didn't know what specifically to look for. That's the whole purpose of this video, is to give you a little bit of an idea of what items you should be looking at and what items really aren't going to be impacted at all. And then the last thing I want to talk about is the Antwerp and Stockholm capsules. Now, I don't really expect too much movement of these. I'll be completely honest, where I think whatever happens on that first night is going to be reverted after the second or third night, kind of how we saw it with Stockholm, where the prices dipped down significantly and then they bounced back up to roughly what they were sitting at before Antwerp was released. With that being said though, there's definitely, as I've mentioned, always that possibility we could see a little bit of a change. Honestly, I can't see Antwerp going any lower at this current point. I don't think Rio stickers are going to be very similar to what we saw with Antwerp and Stockholm, and I've mentioned that in a past video due to the fact that Antwerp had significantly lower pre-sale numbers than we saw with Stockholm. That Valve wants to capitalize on that pre-sale as much as they can, considering their post-sale numbers are probably going to be very similar every single major, so the fact that their pre-sale numbers were down showed a significant decrease in interest from Stockholm, and therefore they probably want to go with something that is a little bit different or has a background or change something up, considering that Stockholm and Antwerp obviously looked very, very similar. So the fact that we could definitely see it go up and then go right back down to its price point it's been currently sitting at is definitely a possibility, and definitely something you should look out for. If you're looking to sell Antwerp, it might be a good idea to do so. But as always guys, I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.